welcome to episode 28 of A New Way to Love, Live, and Lead. I'm your host, Cheryne Blum, a master coach, author, speaker, and the founder of the Self-Mastery Hub, your center for self-inquiry, healing, and growth. This podcast is here to remind you that midlife is not a crisis. It's a climax, the peak of your life story. We are exploring how you can come home to yourself in midlife, your true self, which is about breaking the old, outdated patterns and find more empowering and sustainable ways to love, live, and lead your life without losing yourself. In season 3, we've been exploring burnout recovery and energy mastery, not as something to fix, but as something to understand. And last week, we looked at the impact of emotional overload and how unprocessed emotions that sit within us can really drain our energy. And today's conversation is a powerful reminder that burnout doesn't come from weakness. It often comes from never stopping to reflect, giving yourself time to connect, to slow down, and reflect. In a world that rewards constant doing, pausing can sometimes feel uncomfortable, even irresponsible. But what if the pause isn't the problem? What if it's the solution? And today I have a special guest with me. I have Shannah Kennedy, who is a master life coach, a keynote speaker, and 8 times best-selling author with over 20 years experience coaching CEOs, executives, elite athletes, and individuals navigating major life transitions. Her work focuses on high-performance living without burnout, helping people build calm, confidence, clarity, and sustainable energy through self-awareness, self-leadership, and self-management. At 55, Shannah is deeply passionate about midlife reinvention and designing what she calls the second chapter of life. She combines evidence-based coaching, breathwork, and practical planning tools to help people reset, refocus, and move forward with purpose. Shannah is the author of The Life Plan and works with individuals and organizations across Australia and internationally to help them create lives that feel successful on the inside, not just on paper. And together we're exploring why making space for reflection is one of the most powerful tools for burnout recovery in midlife, and how to pause with purpose and focus, not guilt. Shannah, it is so wonderful to have you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here, and such an incredible topic that really nobody talks about.
So true. And, we've known each other for a long time now. I love the work that you do. And can you give us a little bit of a background? I'd love listeners to know you a little bit more. Share a snapshot of your journey. How you came to this work you do today.
I came really through lived experience. So I was working in corporate sport. I married my job. I'm sure a lot of the listeners here know what that feels like, to marry your job. I loved it. It was in my blood, in my bones. I worked 7 days a week. It was sport. It was high performance. It was super exciting, a girl in her 20s. So I worked there for about 7 years, looking after about 100 athletes, doing their contracts, buying and selling athletes, going to events, becoming friends with their families, etc. And a big part of their life. And I saw the dark side of sport. I saw the glamour side of sport. I saw high performance around me the whole time. And I really was trying to be a high-performing human myself. However, I didn't have a coach. I had no boundaries. I had no self-reflection. I had no self-care. I thought that if I sat down, I was lazy. I rewarded hard work, absolutely 100%, and I was my title. So the burnout came in the form of chronic fatigue syndrome, where I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing through every sign, every headache, every body ache, every fatigue, every fog, every cynicism that came in about my job until I was just bedbound for a year. And that really plummeted into a very deep depression because I didn't know who I was without my job at all. So I wasn't a human. I was just a title, and I loved it, and I was addicted to achievement. So I learned some very, very big lessons. I got myself a coach. I had to unlearn all of those bad habits and those bad rules that I had set for myself. And I had to build a human being from the ground up. And this is at the age of 30. So it was early for that burnout to happen. So that was an incredible experience working with a coach to build Shannah the person first. And it doesn't matter what job you do, you never lose the person. And that really sparked my study, where I studied life coaching for a couple of years through the ICA, and that was 25 years ago when nobody had heard about it. And I really opened my own practice working from home, which was nobody had heard of that either, to coach athletes into retirement and so that they could see themselves as a human being past their sport. And so ever since then, for the last 25 years, I've studied, I've been coached, I coach people, I speak at conferences, I've written 8 books, and I'm really passionate about mastery of the inner game, about people knowing who they are, where they're going and how they're going to get there, and really embodying what's most important to them.
I love that. And there's so much that you've said there that we're going to unpack in this interview. Before we do, working with the high performers that you've had and being a high performing human, as you put it, I love that, yourself, what's the common thread that people have? The people that look capable on the outside, but feel depleted on the inside. What's the common thread?
I think it is. On the outside, they're very competent, they're very reliable, they're very high achieving, but on the inside, they're running on empty. Like it's a beautiful looking oxygen tank, but on the inside, it's, running on red. They've lost connection to themselves. Their energy is being spent meeting expectations rather than living in alignment. And they could be expectations they've even just put on themselves, to be a perfectionist or a high achiever. But most have really never been taught how to manage their energy or their boundaries or to respect recovery. And we see it in athletes. Athletes do their recovery really well. Otherwise, they can't keep showing up to practice. It's us human beings that don't value recovery for some reason. So I find that people are succeeding very well, but at the expense of themselves.
Yeah, so true. Last season was all about self-connection. As you know, with my work, a lot of it is taking a person back to themselves. And I love that you've said that because it is the missing puzzle, that piece that so many people miss. And coming back to yourself, I think there's so much that we can unpack in that you've said. So let's get into this, because when people reach burnout and they don't realize they're running on empty. They don't realize they're in the red zone, as you've just said. And people see it as failure, and we become so hard on ourselves. We don't see it as feedback. What do you think from your perspective? What do most people misunderstand about burnout?
I think burnout is not about weakness or lack of resilience. I think it is about long-term misalignment with unmanaged energy. It's rarely caused by one busy season, is it? It's really a slow build when reflection and recovery and self-leadership are really missing. And it's not, wow, I just had a really big 6 months and I'm burnt out. It's got so much depth to it. But once you're on the train to burnout, it's a fast train. But people often blame their workload, when the deeper issue is perhaps a loss of control or meaning or choice or boundaries that they might have set for themselves. And once you start on that train, it's really like the bullet train, isn't it? It's
Mm.
It doesn't get fixed by having a weekend off or sleeping in for a week. It just doesn't. It takes months and months, maybe even years to recover.
Absolutely. I think that's so beautiful what you've put there of not weakness, it's misalignment. Before we go deeper, I really like to break down some of these kind of coaching terms because for us, that makes a lot of sense. Let's just unpack a little bit. What do you mean by misalignment?
It means that we're just living on this rules that we have in our brain and we're just not listening to the body. We're not in alignment with ourselves. It's like being the car and the wheels are out of alignment, right?
Mm,
So the car is just not tracking properly and one tire is burning out more than the other because they're just not balanced. It's
mm,
quite the same. I think people are living solely in their head. They're
mm,
forgetting to breathe.
mm,
Connection for the brain to the belly so that we can feel our life is through the breath. So
mm,
everybody's running around stuck in their head, not breathing and can't get down to actually feel, is this
mm,
right for me? Maybe I should be saying no to that dinner. Or maybe I should be saying, no, I'm not ready for that promotion. Or maybe I should be saying no to that boy or whatever it might be. But we're just running too fast and we're not
mm.
feeling anything because we're not breathing and we're out of alignment.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting because so many people don't realize they're running on fear, running from fear, and they've got this inner story and that their patterns are taking over. Most people don't even know, like you said, the expectations we put on ourselves, not having boundaries, being people pleasers, being perfectionists, being overachievers. We don't realize that those are patterns of behavior. And so we're kind of running on this autopilot and kind of robotically living our lives and disconnected from our bodies, like you were saying, we're disconnected from our breath. So, today we're talking about the power of the pause. And, so and like I love how you're languaging the mastering the inner game. I just absolutely love that sentence. How does reflection fit into burnout recovery? Because that power of the pause coming back to your breath, like piece that together for us.
Well, think of it as reflection is how we notice the early warning signs before the body forces you to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the body's going to stop if you don't listen, if you don't actually have that feeling when life gets busy. And reflection is the first habit to disappear always because it doesn't feel very urgent. It's not on your to-do list. It's not really essential. We're never taught that it was important. But without reflection, people stay in their full reaction mode the whole time and repeat patterns that led to burnout in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. And that's why with the coach, I had to unlearn a lot of those patterns and reflect on them and build reflection into my daily life, which I do through the power of 3 breaths.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 breaths every time I wash my hands, which means I'm grounded, I'm calm. Is this working for me? Should I have said yes to that, no to that? How's my body feeling? At what different times of day, how's my body feeling? It's the Gatorade station. It's that little check-in on the marathon of the day and the marathon of life. And if we're not reflecting, then we can't fine-tune ourselves. So if you're a high performance athlete and you're not reflecting on the results, all of the data that you've been given on how you're breathing and how you're striding and all of that, and you're not doing that reflection work, you can't fine tune to improve.
Mm,
We're the same. If we're just repeating the same, training the same, doing the same, living life the same, and we're not popping the bonnet and we're not fine tuning, then in 10 years' time, we're still the same. We haven't evolved. We're still burnt out and it's the same old, and life is boring. And that's what people come to me and say, there's got to be more. I need a plan because it's the same.
and unfulfilling.
And I don't want
Yeah.
to feel like this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel
Yeah.
like this anymore. And I always say to people, how do you want to feel?
Mm,
And they will say, I want to feel light. I want to feel joyful. I want to have some gratitude. I want fulfillment in my life. And they want to feel something. They want to get
Mm,
out of their head and into their body, and reflection is
mm.
really critical. It's a high performance skill.
I love the tool that you spoke about there, the 3 breaths, and specifically when you're washing your hands, like that's a really great mindful exercise and a somatic exercise because water in the body really soothes the nervous system and brings us into the present moment. So I loved what you were saying there, like just stopping and taking those 3 breaths and having those 3 connection questions that draw you back into a state of awareness, back into that reflection.
I like to think of it as a healthy pause that's intentional. So it's got
Mm,
purpose,
mhm,
even if that purpose is simply to listen to the body.
mm,
Avoidance is what we do to numb and distract ourselves. We'll pick up the phone instead of taking a breath.
mm,
Whereas a pause actually creates a space, and I call it internal space. We all craving space at the
mm,
moment, but we can create it internally through breathing, where there's lots and lots of space and all the noise is outside. So the pause and the breath, even just 3 breaths in the supermarket queue, or when you're driving, taking nice long deep breaths,
mm,
create the internal space to notice and to recalibrate. And pausing is active leadership skill of self-leadership because it allows us to make a conscious choice moving forward
mm.
instead of just our automatic reaction. So I had
Yeah.
to learn to breathe before I automatically reacted to if I sit down, it's lazy, to maybe I actually need to sit and do 5 minutes of breath work and
Mm,
I'll be a more powerful performer and I won't feel burnout. So I haven't had burnout for 25 years at all, at all. Raised the family, written 8 books, been speaking around the country, huge coaching practice, school drop off, pick up, basketball, school sports, no burnout.
love it.
Out.
Love it. But one of my sayings is pace the passion.
Yeah,
Be
right.
here for the long game.
Mine is embrace the pace.
I love it. Embrace the pace. I love it. And you know what you're talking there is intentional pauses. That's a really powerful statement because intentionally pausing. Um, as we know when we're driving a car, we wouldn't have our foot on the accelerator. We would brake. We would pause. We don't realize the effects to the nervous system and the body when we're constantly on go mode. And so many people start to feel guilty or they feel restless when they stop. And so many people don't realize that in itself is a stress response. What do you say to people that say, "Oh, I feel guilty," or "I feel," or even like "I feel exhausted when I stop"? Like, how do people actually learn to create this intentional pause? And as you said, as a self leadership tool
Mhm.
to really get their mechanism, their own inner vehicle working is so perfectly.
Well, it's very uncomfortable when we stop because all the feelings come to the surface and we often don't like feeling them. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I don't like that, this feels sore, that's going wrong. It's actually not really nice space to be. So we distract, we pick up the phone, we start doom scrolling, we look for entertainment. We don't want to feel the feels, but it's in the feels that we're getting all the signals about
Mhm.
next. So we need to start small and start structured. Short, contained reflection is safer than huge, unbounded thinking. It's just too big for us. So the
Yeah.
3 breaths is short, it's small. Every time I'm at the supermarket car park, I'm taking 3 breaths before I drive home. In the
Mm,
supermarket queue, 3 breaths. I'm just recalibrating the whole time because if I just do one big stop, it's too big. It's like you stopped
mm,
halfway through the marathon, it's too hard to get started again. And I like to use prompts and frameworks so the mind has direction and not free rein. So
mhm,
so normalizing what arises, fatigue, and is what I experience all the time. And emotions, they're not problems, they're just information.
mm,
So I just listen for that bit of information and say, okay, I feel this way. What's the best thing I could do? Maybe go for a walk around the block instead of hit the pantry, and eat something to soothe my soul. So reflection
mm,
helps people move from reacting to life to really responding with a bit of intention.
Mm.
That was a bigger shift for me personally, and it's certainly what works with my clients, because we want to reduce internal noise and decision fatigue. People are
Mhm.
exhausted. Every
Mhm.
time we pick up our phone, we have decision fatigue because we're deciding whether we like something or not,
Yeah.
or how long we're going to sit there and doom scroll. Imagine your poor brain is still stuck in your brain. You've still not gone to your body. So I think
Mm.
self-leadership really does begin with taking a pause that's long enough to choose how you want to live and lead and how you want to feel. So if I want to feel light and joyful, the phone to me is like the devil. It is not light and joyful.
Mm.
Taking my dog out the front for a little walk is joyful. Or sitting on my front porch taking 3 breaths is joyful. Or putting some essential oils on my arm and smelling them is joyful. We have to really identify some of the activities that are short
Mm.
and joyful, that are not just distracting and numbing.
And I love, what you're saying in essence is around mindful living and conscious self-leadership. And one of the things that we spoke about in the season about self-connection is, I say self-connection always starts with self-awareness. That's the first step back to yourself, is self-awareness, which is ultimately what you are talking about in living in reflective awareness, which is a type of intelligence, isn't it? Like reflective intelligence is, and that self-awareness. And a lot of people don't realize that self-awareness is a muscle. What can you say about that to help people? You are saying that in the sense with intentional pauses, but to connect the dots of living in a state of self-awareness as opposed to being kind of the passive participant.
Yeah, I think it's a high performance skill, and I want to be a high performing human. So the skill to master for me was to notice my breath. So if all the listeners here just took a little snapshot right now, who's been holding their breath while they've been
Mm.
listening?
Mm. Mm.
A lot of people actually hold their breath for a very long
Mhm.
time. Or if you're watching Netflix, you might realize you're holding your breath for a whole
Mm.
scene. You haven't taken a
Mhm.
breath.
Mm.
So it is this constant checking, this pulse that you are doing to say, "Ooh, where am I? Am I in my sympathetic fight, flight, freeze mode where I'm telling my body there's a shark out there? Or
Mm.
am I actually in my rest and digest mode?" So burnout means you're constantly living in sympathetic, as you know.
Mhm.
Your breath will tell you straight away where you are. You're either holding your breath or you're breathing too fast or too shallow, or I am in burnout zone. So
Mm.
to trick your body and bring it back, I always take my long breaths with a longer out breath. Whenever I'm in a queue,
Mm.
whenever I'm washing my hands, when I'm doing the washing, when I'm stirring the soup, I'm I'm so addicted to breath now. And it
Mm.
started by just putting sticky notes everywhere. There was
Yeah.
one on the car dashboard that said breathe. There was one on
Yeah.
the mirror that said breathe. There was one on the soap dispenser that said breathe. And my coach said to me, if you never want to burn out again, you need to pause. You need to take these little mini pauses. It's a little bit like looking after your plants. You can't just water them once a year and give them a whole bucket of water and they drown. They need a little bit every week.
Mm.
And then they thrive. And we're the same. We need
Mm.
that oxygen, that little bit of oxygen, every couple of hours where we're checking in. So it's my medicine. I've never taken drugs, but I'm sure it's like a Valium or something like that. I think it calms my nervous system, my vagal tone, my gut brain connection. I never feel in danger. And actually, I'm just soaking up this magical play date that we have on the planet today.
I love it because everything you're talking about is living in presence, living in the present moment and not the survival mode. We get a, kind of what I was saying before. We don't realize we're living in fear and the survival. And what you're tapping on there is the neuroscience and the science to calm, which when we're in a reactive state, we forget. And so much of this work is remembering to remember. because when we're in that autopilot and disconnection, we're in that state of forgetfulness. So what I'm hearing and what you're saying is, when we come to self-awareness, when we come into the present moment, when we enter reflective intelligence in through reflection, um, it's we've kind of come into the now where we're really living,
But it needs
not just
structure.
surviving.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So it needs structure. The brain needs signposts, I always say, like
Mm,
GPS in the car.
yeah.
So if we don't have sticky notes or the vision board, or you don't have a colouring book on the couch where you're just sitting colouring, if people sat and coloured for 2 minutes, just two
Mm,
minutes, they would go back into their body. But
mhm,
if we have the props around
mhm,
that are helping us feel the feel, so
mm,
we experience it, it's very hard then to just make it a way of life, like tasting your food or sipping the
mm,
coffee and,
mm,
really taste, our five senses. And if we don't have things around us that are reminding us,
mm.
we're on autopilot for sure.
And what you're saying there is, it's not just like you said, we're not going to water the plants once and forget. This is daily devotion.
Mm,
It's self-honoring, coming
mm,
back to yourself, living in this state of living, and life becomes joyful. We live in a attitude of gratitude as opposed to the stress. And like you said, when we're in this state, everything is more manageable. And what I love what you're saying in self-awareness is this remembering, is that this is actually just a science. This isn't woohoo. This isn't any jargon. This is just really understanding the nervous system just creates chemistry. You're either going to be in that adrenaline, cortisol chaos, or you're going to be, releasing the hormones, or the balancing hormones that allows your chemistry to calm you so that you living in that active state, the frontal cortex, your executive functioning, there's a science to this. It really is just, like you
And
said, a structure.
we can be such high achievers. It's a bit
Mm,
like Roger Federer, calm,
mm,
grounded, confident, in the moment,
mm,
totally connected to his breath. Or you can be like a Nick Kyrgios, like in the crazy zone. So no disrespect to him, but you get to
mm.
choose.
Yeah.
How do you want to show up on planet Earth today? You get a play date. So every morning when I wake up, I'm like, oh, I get another play date. So I
Mm,
start the day with gratitude.
mm,
In the play date, I am in the playground of life today. So I want to treat it like a playground. So
mm,
yes, I have to do a proposal to someone. I really don't like doing proposals. So my to-do list is called my joy to-do list that I
mhm,
get to do. I get to do a proposal. So I may as well do it with some
mm,
lightness and joy and not overthink
mm.
it. And maybe it's not perfect and that's okay. But let's take a breath. Let's do it. Take a breath after. And just it's part of the playground. So it's an attitude to how you want to feel.
Love it. Mindset is everything. And, let's just all take a little pause, because when you said that, I just got goosebumps. And let's just take a pause. And I love that coaching question. How am I choosing to show up into this playground of life today? How am I going to play today? Yeah, I think it's super powerful. Super powerful.
So, I have here in my office a photo of a girl running through the playground with a bunch of balloons.
Mm,
And I have a card of it and a screenshot of it. And she comes with me everywhere to remind me
mm, mm,
it's just a play date.
mm.
Just to show up with some lightness here. You deserve to be here. Go and have fun. Go up on stage and have fun. There's 400 people waiting for you. Rather than cripple yourself with anxiety, maybe
Mm.
just have some fun up there.
I love it. And again, the prompters, the reinforcers to help us stay in this state of remembering,
I
which
need
is going to lead me. What's that?
I need visual. So for a lot of
Yes.
people,
Mm,
if you don't have the visual cues around, and that's why elite athletes all have vision boards. They all have words around them that inspire them. They have them tattooed on their bodies for when they play.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Brain needs a map. It needs a signpost.
I love
Right.
it. Direction. directional thinking. And that's going to lead me to the next question because, my little tagline for this podcast is that midlife isn't a crisis, it's a climax. And
Mhm.
it really is the awakening and can be, like you said, the second chapter, the best chapter, where we have greater awareness, wisdom, experience, um, and the conversation of pausing in midlife and changing our ways, does become a very, front and center. What is the second chapter going to be? And, we've spoken personally about midlife transitions, and so many people are in midlife transitions, whether it be their careers, identity changes, relationship changes, a health wake up call. Um, why do you believe midlife is such a powerful invitation for reflection rather than reinvention by force?
I sort of see it as the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis and
Mm,
dissolves itself and then
mm,
turns into the butterfly. I think our best
mhm.
is yet to come, and you
Yeah.
choose when you want to be the butterfly. But you have to start the process of dissolving. And I say midlife exposes what is no longer sustainable,
Mm,
physically, emotionally, or energetically. So, how we've been operating up until this time where you feel that you're in midlife and everything is shifting, like I'm an empty nester now, my kids have finished school, I've lost a parent, everything is changing. My body is changing, my hormones are changing. I'm like, oh, I am definitely in the chrysalis. I am not going to be the
mm.
caterpillar ever again. So, my best is yet to come. So, to see it as a natural checkpoint, not a crisis, a moment to integrate the wisdom that we have collected over all of those years rather than starting from scratch. We're integrating everything in. And reflection really allows us to ground ourselves, not to be driven by panic or comparison, but to go really into the chrysalis and
Mm.
to dissolve the parts of us that we don't want to carry forward and to be open to the whole next second act of our life.
I love it. And I've actually just had this little aha moment as you were speaking that midlife is the pause. It's like midlife is this, like you said, this pause moment.
And it's called menopause for a reason
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when it was termed menopause, it
Mhm,
was when women had finished their role as mother. Their parents were already deceased, and
mm.
it was a time for her to pause and reflect and go into her second role. It's just in this day and age, what's happened is we're still raising children in menopause and we're still
Mm,
looking after our parents. So it's a very
mm.
messy middle at the moment.
Messy middle. And that's really powerful, um, to think of it that way because it just allows us, I think as a woman, well, not even just as a woman, just as high performers, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get it all right, to have everything figured out. And when you were talking there, I felt my nervous system just drop a note, like just kind of, ah, like let's let's celebrate this pause. Like let's not have it all worked out. Um, and your role, your best-selling book, you help people create long-term life plans. And so, let's talk a little bit about why reflection is essential before we decide what's next. Instead of jumping into the what's next, I have to figure this all out. Let's really, how can people, like you said, structure before they plan their life plan, this reflection stage?
Well, think of it as without reflection, we're going to recreate the same life with different packaging.
Mm,
That's what we're doing. We're just like, okay, well, I'm in my 50s now, but I'm going to keep doing the same thing. Reflection clarifies what to carry forward
mm,
and what you want to leave behind. And without pausing and really going through that stuff, you're just repackaging yourself. So skipping this leads to decisions that look good maybe externally, but they feel wrong internally. So
mm,
people are still, striving really hard, but internally it's hurting. It's like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. They always say that the first half of your life you accumulate and you build the house, and the second half of your life is how do you want to live in the house?
mm,
So we can stop building so much, but we can think about how we want to experience living in the house now. So I think reflection helps people prioritize what genuinely does matter now,
mm,
not what mattered 10 years ago. It's that, how we talked about popping the bonnet and fine tuning.
mm,
We eat differently now. We exercise differently now. We spend differently now. Like everything has changed
mm,
around us, but
mm,
we need to change maybe the expectations of ourselves and how we want to feel at the end of the day. Where the reward isn't, I'm so burnt out, yay. It's, I feel so full, yay. It's just a different phrasing of everything. And I don't think you can do that unless you've done a bit of reflection work.
yeah. And this mindful, intentional reflection and intentional pausing. Um, I think that, like you said, we get so caught up in the roles and we're still in the roles. My youngest is still in high school, so I'm still in the mothering stage, and I've got older kids, so I'm in the empty nest and mothering stage. It's very confusing in my inner world, really. Um, but I think what's so beautiful there is this time of reflection where we're so used to being everything for everybody else that the role becomes our identity, kind of what you were saying in your introduction. The identity of being your job. We're so used to being the mother, to being the title, to being whatever we've. This is so beautiful in self-honoring and coming home to ourselves, because it's life gets, although it's still really busy, there is this kind of, oh, I have space. I do have space. I do have time to think. I do have time for me. And this intentional reflection is so powerful to become the weaver, but not for everybody else, but for ourselves.
It's
So
very
beautiful.
uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
It can be.
Just
Yeah.
it's easier to serve others than to serve yourself. It's easier
Mm,
to please others, and when you've got the disease to please a little bit,
mm,
um, doing anything for yourself feels very selfish.
mm.
So a lot of women have, given, and men have given, and this is for men too, by the way,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
they get to the same stage of life and they've just worked and provided, and they're like, this it's not satisfying anymore. So
Yeah,
they're experiencing just as big a change, I think, but in a different way. And
yeah.
they need to really recreate and pause and reflect and think about how they want to feel in the second half, where their community is going to be and what's going to give them fulfillment. And it's not going to be doing deals,
Mm,
more
mm,
to
mm.
enough deals. Um,
Yeah.
that will be part of it, but they need to build the human being side of things.
And it's really this moment of truth is what I'm hearing there, because, like you said, when we are married to our identities, and especially for men, and I hear this in a lot of the male clients that I work with, where they like this middle age, midlife point feels like such an identity crisis. It's we're so used to proving our worth and being in this ego state, rather than being in our truth. One of the things I've been talking about over the podcast is we're either in an ego state or we're in grace consciousness. And so, what I love what you're saying, because in essence, this is grace consciousness in action, living in this awareness. It's no more to prove. What is my truth? What is my heart asking? What's my soul asking for? This second chapter, like you said, I don't have to build anymore. I can now live and enjoy and reap the rewards.
Mm. But it really needs intention,
Mm,
because the mind gets lost, and especially
mm-hmm,
today with comparisonitis being such an issue with social media, where we're comparing ourselves to everything that we're seeing on the screen. We actually don't even know who we are. We get paralyzed.
mm,
So when we sit and reflect, and when we walk and we learn. It's time we can learn new things now. We've got some space. So, I just spent a year studying breath work to
Mm.
really go into the science of it and really, really go deeper into it. I've been doing my 3 breaths for 25 years and it's been the most powerful thing. I'm like, I think I'd like to learn the science of that.
Yeah,
We
I
can
love it.
learn about growing vegetables. We can go and learn about plants. We can go and take up golf. We can go and serve the community. We can start giving back, and we can still do amazing work, and we can still have that achievement sort of side of us being fed. But for me, the achievement side is, what did I do today
Mm.
that really honored my life in the playground today? I noticed
Mm.
I took the breath.
Mm.
I tasted my coffee. It was such a beautiful experience today.
Mm.
I
Mm.
got to talk to Cheryne. I got to share some tools today. What a
Mm.
beautiful day in the playground.
Mm.
And keeping it just as simple as that every night it's a way of living. It's a religion. It's
It's so
my spirit.
it's so powerful. It's so, so powerful, and that self-honoring is just so empowering. This season, as you know, we're talking about sustainable energy. We're talking about the energy reset, burnout recovery. How does all of this, and you actually have mentioned it before, but I'm just going to really clarify it and bring it together. How does everything that you're talking about, these intentional pauses, the really becoming clear on your yeses and nos and what you're choosing and how you're choosing to show up in this playground, how does all of this lead to sustainable energy, especially in midlife?
Well, it supports cleaner decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So our decision making is simple, it's clear, it's not attached to all these stories that we've made up. It's just, no, I'm not doing that, or I'm unavailable at that time. And we're protecting the asset, which is ourself. We're deciding who comes in and out of the house. It's not a free for all anymore. We're just creating this space inside of ourselves where it's a sanctuary. And we don't need to look for that externally. It's actually all on the inside. That's why I always talk about the inner game is we don't need to go to yoga every day or meditate every day. We can just take a breath and find some internal space and notice that we have running water and a bed and a pillow and a car and a fridge to keep our cold food nice and cold. Oh my gosh, there's so much wealth right there. And when you
Mm.
allow yourself to feel it and it becomes a way of life, our energy is beautiful energy. And then we attract great things and we
Mm.
don't feel burnout. It's the butterfly. It's not the caterpillar.
Mm.
We're not struggling along, chomping, chomping, chomping. We're flying. It's quite euphoric actually. And it's really all the way of being. It's your mindset. It's the way you want to show up every day. And it's what you
Mm.
practice every day. And we can practice watching the news. We can practice scrolling. We can practice breathing. We can practice mindfulness. We can practice destructive behaviors, drinking, whatever we want to be doing. It's all just a practice, but you're just choosing which one gives you the feeling that you want to feel in life and the energy you want. And in midlife is the time to reassess what you practice.
Mm. 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 And it, I think what's so important is what you're saying there is, we have to have fuel in the tank, and we're so used to just pushing, 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 and we don't realize that we are energy beings. Without energy, we are nothing. And so we have to come back to checking in on our capacity to do things, not what do I need to do? What's in my capacity to do today? And um, I mentioned this a few episodes ago that somebody shared with me this, we always talk about the put your oxygen mask on first and all of that. And somebody shared with me that they said, do you think the airplane pilot has one of those floppy oxygen masks that fall from the ceiling when the plane goes down? No, they have a very sophisticated oxygen mask because they know that the whole plane relies on them. So they have to have this sophisticated tank of energy, oxygen to support them. And So I really hear that you're talking, what you're talking. Let's really make this practical.
Mhm.
You've spoken about the 3 breaths. Can you give us another simple reflection practice you'd suggest people who are feeling tired, exhausted, kind of feeling that kind of burnout? What can they try this week to get started on a simple
Yeah.
reflection practice?
I think at the end of every day, just asking yourself, what gave you energy today and what drained your energy today? So I can really go back to, well, going for a walk with my husband this morning and having a coffee gave me energy.
Mm,
If I went to a spin class, no, that's not for me. It's a draining. If I went for a run, that's draining. It's actually not even good for me to do that. So asking yourself and doing the audit from the day, and was it the draining activity or was it the way I viewed it?
mm,
Did I really say, "Oh, that proposal was so draining," or just did I think, "Well, maybe I could have just done it with a bit more lightness to it," or unloading the dishwasher
yeah.
again, draining, or maybe I get to unload the dishwasher. So
Mm,
really, you can analyze what's draining. You can think about, is it something I need to change, or do I need to change my mindset? So
mm,
doing the washing with all the kids all the time, it was, I get to do the washing. I've got beautiful children that are playing sport. Why would I complain about washing their clothes? You
mm.
know, so I would say I get to do this, and all of a sudden, there's just not a story about how much washing there is.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it really allows us to look at what's in our control and what's out of our control, and to realize what, like when you're saying, I can shift my mindset. I can choose. So, okay, I love it. We're going to do our daily energy audits.
Yes.
Okay. Shanna says you do your daily, what's uplifted me, what's drained me. Easy. I love that. Really, really simple.
Pattern. Just look for the pattern, like,
Mm,
oh,
mm,
school lunch boxes were so draining. I hated them. I just had this ick about school lunch boxes. And then I said, okay,
mm,
well, how can I get that out of my system? Because it just puts me in a bad mood. So I said, okay, you've got to do them within 5 minutes, make the 2 lunches within 5 minutes. So I became this express train of throwing things in the
mm,
lunchbox, closing it and going, that's done.
mm.
And just set myself challenge because it has to be done. I have to do it. How
Mm,
can I do it and make it just the quickest thing possible where you eat the frog, Brian Tracy's work of do the hardest thing in the day first and the rest of the day is great. Great. I'm just going to smash the lunchbox. You've got to make that a little bit of a game for yourself because
mm,
it's all
mm,
about energy. Or else I
mm.
can be in a bad mood for an hour because I'm like, oh, lunchbox again. So a lot of it is your internal talk, but every night just saying to yourself, what was great? What gave me energy today? What could I be grateful for? And what really didn't work well? And was it in my control or could I have handled that a little differently? Just practice.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. And again, the other thing that you're tapping on there is boundaries. And boundaries in what you're saying there, and creating these little games for ourselves, and remembering that we're in our playground, and intentional play in our playground. Having these boundaries and decision points, like it makes it lighter. Boundaries don't feel like a burden. It feels like self-honoring. It's truthful. It's so easy and clean. Like you said, having these clean decisions make boundaries so easy.
It's
Yeah.
easy to say no as well. Very easy. And then you know when you're living out of alignment.
Yeah. So true.
Right? Am I
And
living is my ego
yeah.
just being FOMO, fear of missing out, so I'm going to all
Yeah.
of these things, or
Yeah.
should they move to JOMO, joy of missing out, because I can step
Yeah.
and do something that fills my soul and lights me up?
Yeah, beautiful. And what this puts us in is really, as a self-leadership tool, um, we are managing our energy. We're always aware how much fuel's in our tank and what do I need to do to restore. So beautiful restorative practices here. So I want to ask you before we close, I have a signature question. This season is about burnout recovery, energy mastery, and leading from self connection. If you could leave listeners with one powerful truth or question to reflect on in midlife, something that could genuinely change how they relate to their energy and their life, what would that be?
Your energy is your most valuable asset, and everything that we do depends upon it. So the question that I invite everybody to ask themselves is the life I'm living today the one my future self will thank me for sustaining? So I
Mm,
always think of my 10-year-older self. So I
mm,
am 65 in 10 years' time.
mm,
And what am I doing today to serve her so she has the best life possible? Because midlife isn't asking for more effort. It's asking for more honesty, more
mm.
intention, more self-leadership, more truth. So she's not saying do more. She's saying listen, pop the bonnet, fine tune, do what's best for you. Save your energy. You've got a long marathon ahead. Enjoy every moment of the play date on the planet. So we can always check in with our future self, and it allows us to say no, and it allows us to protect ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. Clear yeses and clear nos. What is something that you are doing for your future self?
So this year, something that's been on my vision board for 10 years has been to walk the whole Camino, the 840 kilometres in the 40 days. So I'm going to take my life for a beautiful, long, slow walk. And that's my pause. That's my midlife pause. It's my reflection time.
Beautiful, beautiful intention. And I'm so excited for your golden gap and well-deserved pause and cannot wait to hear all about it. We will definitely have to get you back when you return from your beautiful golden gap. And just really thank you so much for your clarity, your voice of wisdom, your tools. Is so helpful. It's been really wonderful having you on on the show today. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best with your golden gap pause.
Amazing. I look forward to sharing the lessons from the Camino.
Beautiful. Sounds like a book. Thanks so much, Shannah. What I loved about this conversation with Shannah is it's a real reminder that burnout recovery isn't about doing more. It's about listening more, tuning in, connect, and reflect. Reflection isn't stopping your life. It's how you make sure you're still living it on purpose. And I'd love to offer you this week's self-reflection question. Where in my life am I being invited to pause? And what might I hear if I truly listened? And as always, please follow, rate, and share this episode with someone who is reimagining their midlife chapter. Be sure to take the Well 5 Balance Check-In. You will find the link in the show notes so you can tune in and get some additional structured reflection prompts to help you balance your well-being. And if you're realizing that you need personalized support to navigate burnout energy or your next chapter, one-on-one coaching is where deep transformation happens. And I've been coaching for 20 years, supporting people all over the world to reconnect with themselves, work through blind spots, and build clarity and confidence for what's next. You'll find the link in the show notes to book a complimentary 20-minute connection call, a safe, no-pressure space to explore what support could look like for you. Thanks for joining me on another episode of A New Way to Love, Live, and Lead. And remember, you're not too late. You are right on time. And your best, most connected, energetic chapter begins right now.